is the author of 4 full-length books of poetry and 19 chapbooks. An assortment of his lyric essays, interviews with neighbors, and personal accounts from others make up the collection Gathered Together in the Stanley Park Manor, a collective history, and that's coming out with Animal Press in the fall. So that's exciting, and that's where you live, right? In your building, so cool. Kevin is one of the organizers of the Dead Poets reading series, has a chapbook review column for Subterranean magazine, occasionally co-hosts Wax Poetic on Vancouver Co-op Radio, and is one of the poetry ambassadors for Vancouver's 2025 to 2027 Poet Laureate Ellie Carshey Gardner. And I'm just wondering, who has the bigger set of pom-poms? Because we're both pretty big with the pom-pom. We're cheerleaders of poetry, right? We're pretty tired, I think, right? We definitely are ambassadors. He is one of the poetry mentors of the Writers' Studio at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver on the unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territory, where he cohabitates with the one and only Cheryl Rossi. And as I mentioned, we are so delighted to have Kevin here as our 2026 Cogswell Award Judge. So please welcome Kevin Spenst.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much, Janet, for all that. And yeah, it's a real honor tonight to be reading Cecily and Gary. I look forward to your readings. I woke up today and I'd slept. I had a full night's sleep. It was kind of a miracle. And language came to me for the first time in days. It felt like I'd been wordless for quite a while. And this morning, this phrase came to mind: center yourself in the sources that sparkle from others. Center yourself in the sources that sparkle of others. And I was just thinking of how, we're made up of other people. And I was making my coffee 6 o'clock this morning, and I just thought of my father and his physique, his bearing. He's somebody who hasn't been with us for a very long time, but I considered the way that I am his embodiment in many ways, physically, and also the kindness that I'm told he exhibited quite a bit throughout his life. I'm going to read from 4 of my books, and I was thinking of reading the first poem from each book. My first book, which came out 10 years ago, was my MFA thesis at UBC. And I had wanted to get access to my father's medical records, but was denied. And then at UBC, when I told Ria about my project, Ria Tregobov, she said, "We're going to use UBC letterhead and put this to use." And so she wrote on my behalf, and I was able to gain access to his medical records to get to know him a little better through what he experienced half a dozen times at Riverview. So Ignite was the book that came out of that project. And this is the first poem from Ignite. This is called Ghosts on Meds. Still cleaving, unreal from the real, demons from doctors, prescriptions from the thrum of foreign hands. So get off your meds, suspicious of stairs as they seem up, but might trundle down to basements. You hover among millions. But I know you, your husky eyes, ponderous sighs, your delusions of being a father, your Sally Ann jacket that spirited my face into an unwashed hug, a muffled wardrobe of wept apologies. Even as your pallbearer, I ignored your implications, your chemical heavy heart. But only if I see you in some flesh can I hold a goodbye. Say I'm sorry, like it means something. And I'll read another poem from this collection. This is the one that kind of felt like it centered the collection and came from a childhood memory of just being spun around and just the love of spinning around, being spun around. And I was lucky enough to have nieces and nephews from the age of 10, so then I got to spin these little kids around and be on the other side. And I just thought of how we love it when we're young and how it can be so thrilling, that sense, but then how if if you don't want that dizziness, it's not great. This is called dendrites of passage. Recover Dad's hospital haircut crown, worn from strung out thoughts, pulled through the top of his head, stranded nervous tissue that roped his moods royally. Touch a second into a hold, a body whirled again. Dad gave airplane rides that cost an arm and a leg, a ligature of laughter over grass, a stump into stars, synapsed into headfuls of touchwood. Glue huffed in that Ziploc mask, basement dizziness glazed shame over father, shivering outside the 5 or 6 rings upstairs, but I didn't want to pick it up. Start hardly stayed still long enough for me to spell him down. Then, a turn to an intensive care room. Dad, fallen from a stroke, left half undone, his face overthrown, his body hollowing beneath a blanket moss green. To hold his last hand, broken twigs ending circles of certainty. His eyes combust blue heat, his head burns into spikes. Who can dust fingerprints from these veluted flames? Jason McLean did the artwork, and original artwork for this. He's an artist I met in Vancouver in the 90s, and I've been so fortunate to meet so many amazing people, having moved to the city from an amazing place that I grew up, which was wonderful, over there in Surrey, and I was tempted to read one of the poems that I wrote, so I toured this book around the province, and I just wrote poems down here and there. And I'll just read the first couple of lines. I was reading this on the SkyTrain and I was coming here and I was like, wow, things sure don't change that much over 10 years. Soften yourself for one sec. I'm not talking about fast food cellulite. I mean yourself, beneath your skin, fat, bones, appointments, DEFCON 3 issues at home, not to mention the nagging et ceteras. Keeping you up until 2. Let yourself go blurry so that under the microscope you can witness mitochondrial slipping through osmosis, skipping out for a smoke break. Just a little something I haven't read before. I guess I read it once 10 years ago, so thank you for that. That's Ignite, and then next up, I'm doing this reading from each book. It's something that we were asked to do at Cathedral in the City, which is a relatively new series Andrew Bartlett started at the church on Burrard, so Christ Church Cathedral. It's a fantastic reading series I read with Ria Tregebov, and it's ongoing, so it's something to do a Google search. Tonight, when you do all the things, you know, put in your Google search for Cathedral in the City, and then you can attend the next one. Jabbering with Bing Bong is a collection of sonnets, mostly, and this first poem is from me as a child looking at a book. There were cats in dresses, dogs in tuxedos, and I made an incorrect conclusion from that. Outskirts of nowhere. From a picture book of canines in tuxedos waltzing with cats in gowns, I generalized. Off the page, howls and low hisses were true to the sidelong conflict between my mom and dad. I was a blonde hairball coughed up well behind a litter of sisters, each scratching at the door, each dreaming of sound-minded men who'd bite off no more of the world than could be chewed. After I found petting in an encyclopedia, I showed it to some gigglers in the playground. While many were losing parents or pets to the highway, Judy Bloom and whoever else we could get our paws on stacked up, tottering surrogates, afraid, binding, and spines. Somebody asked me where my people were from.